September 25th, 2023, Powhatan County Board of Supervisors meeting. Mr. Powhatan, you must help us with the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Williams, give us indication of the break.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another wonderful day in Powhatan County and all the many blessings we enjoy. Amen.
Thank you. Are there any requests, postponed agenda items, additions, or deletions, changes in the order of presentation? Not hearing any, we have a motion to approve the agenda. Is
so moved.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Administrator updates.
Yeah, a few updates for you this evening. First, we'd just like to thank our fire rescue, sheriff staff, first responders, as well as dispatch, citizens, Dominion Energy and Southside Electrical Cooperative for getting through the storms this weekend. Had a number of power outages, but everything was restored by the end of the weekend and call volume was up significantly. But I think everything was handled well and got through it. So just want to extend thanks to everybody for getting through the storms okay. Then also wanted to share last year's budget was awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. So we've received this several years in a row now, and we'll present that formally to you next month, but wanted to share that. The good work of our finance department and our entire staff who work all year to put that together. And then also the Auditor of Public Accounts just recently shared clean audits for our Commissioner of Revenue, Treasurer, Sheriff, and Clerk of the Circuit Court. Tomorrow night at 5 o'clock on NBC 12, Powhatan's own social service, Jane Lloyd will be featured on their Acts of Kindness segment, highlighting her work that she does with Community Matters. So look for that. And then a few updates on capital projects. Work on the village building, roof and HVAC continues. It's going well. The structural work is done. The roof will be poured this week, and hopefully next week, the HVAC units will be put back on. So we probably be back in this room for our October workshop, but hopefully for our October regular meeting, we'll be back in the village building. But as we get to those, definitely make sure to confirm the location, but that work is going well. Then the Fighting Creek Park Covered Bridge Replacement Project, also going well. They'll be digging new footers tomorrow. They had to remove some dead trees around the playground area to keep that safe. And with heavy equipment coming in this week, we'll close the playground Tuesday through Thursday this week, but should open it back up Friday. And we expect that project to be completed October 13th. And then lastly, the Mitchell Road Convenience Center concrete repairs are about to start. They will start pouring, I believe, Wednesday of this week. The facility will not close, but we will have one pad down as one's repaired and then shift over to the other pad. So we would just ask people if you have any really big cleanup projects that will cause a really large haul, hold off on those until the concrete finishes curing October 20th, when the facility will be back up to full capacity. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. And thank you very much to the first responders this weekend. I know it was a hectic and chaotic weekend, and you guys did do a very good job, ladies and men. We have a proclamation.
Yep, we have Mr. Higgy will read this into the record.
Good evening. Whereas Powhatan County is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our state, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires kill more than 2,800 people in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 338,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States, and fire departments responded to more than 166,400 annually between 2016 and 2020. Whereas 2 of every 5 home fires start in the kitchen, with 31% of these fires resulting from unattended cooking. And whereas more than half of reported non-fatal home cooking fires injuries occur where victims tried to fight the fires themselves. And whereas children under 5 face a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burned in a cooking fire. And whereas Powhatan residents should turn pot handles toward the back of the stove, always keep a lid nearby when cooking, keep a 3-foot kid-free zone around the stove, oven, and other things that could get hot, watch what they heat, and set a timer to remind them that they are cooking. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires almost in half. And whereas Powhatan's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Powhatan's residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, cooking safety starts with you, pay attention to fire prevention effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Therefore, the Powhatan Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim October 8th through 14, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this state, and urge all the people of Powhatan to check their kitchens for fire hazards and use safe cooking practices during Fire Prevention Week 2023, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Powhatan Fire and Emergency Services adopted by the Powhatan County Board of Supervisors on September 25, 2023.
No, Chief, if you wanted to share any words?
Just briefly on behalf of Chief Warner and the rest of the Fire and Rescue administrative staff, we appreciate the support that the board has given us and certainly the proclamation underlying the importance of fire prevention. A lot of times when we think about the fire department, specifically, we think about the response to the fires, but we would much rather prevent the fire before it occurs. And so we appreciate the proclamation and any support that we get as the Fire Prevention Week comes up.
Thank you. That'll bring us to our first public comment period. Floor is open. If you'd like to speak to the board on behalf of an individual, you will have up to 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of the group, you have up to 5 minutes. Have anyone online?
No, sir.
Not seeing anyone, we'll close the public comment period. Move us right to the consent agenda. Have a motion. to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then,
Moving on to old business, this is a continuation from our March meeting. As you recall, we were looking at amendment to put some I-1 type light industrial uses into the CC Commerce Center and CC Plan Development Districts. So we had looked at that previously. As I recall, the board, we went through some of the uses, asked staff to take a second look and a little closer look at what uses might be appropriate there, with particular emphasis looking at the comprehensive plan and the goals and standards of that, matching what might be appropriate for that district. So Planning Director, Mr. Sorello, is here to walk through kind of what we're looking at now, get some feedback from the board, and then if we're ready at a future meeting, we will schedule this for public hearing.
Thank you, Katie. Katie's opening up a PowerPoint I put together. In addition, you should be getting a spreadsheet that has the uses. It's a little bit confusing because the uses aren't in alphabetical order in the book. So I took them out of the book, put them in alphabetical order, combined them, coded them so that we can have a better representation of what's there and what's not. So hopefully that will be easier for you all to read. In any case, the question is industrial uses in Commerce Center zoning district. Katie? So one of the important things to look at is what is in the comprehensive plan and what is our zoning currently. In the comprehensive plan, the Commerce Center zoning and the Commerce Center Plan District are both contained within our gateway areas and our village center, so our special areas, which have additional design standards and use standards associated with those. I took a look at what was the nature of both the conditional use district and the conditional use planned unit district to look at, was there anything in there that would give us some more information about what was appropriate and what was inappropriate, perhaps for those uses. And then also looked at uses that were in the industrial use as well. I also took a moment to take a look at how much land we have in each zoning district currently. You can see under industrial that it's not a sizable amount of land. Most of our acreage in this county is in agriculture. So there is not quite a lot in Commerce Center or industrial currently. So I thought it was helpful to give you an idea of exactly how much area we're talking about. So when I went through all that information, I came up with some ideas of uses to add to both Commerce Center and Commerce Center planned development, including a brewery and distillery, education, scientific research development, helicopter landing, microbrewery, newspaper, magazine publishing, printing and reproduction, radio and TV, studio, commercial outdoor recreation, self-service, storage facility, wholesale trade establishment, and woodworking. And when I thought about woodworking, I was thinking more of crafts like glass making kind of thing. But a lot of these uses, we have to remember that we also have standards that are associated with each of those. The amount of space that they can have, the amount of noise, although we don't have a noise ordinance, which we might want to look at. But we have noise and vibrations and effluence and lots of different things that go into regulating each one of those uses on their own in our current ordinance. Katie, one more. And then longer term looked at trends in industrial land use design and development, which helped me to look at what our standards were for light industrial, and then had some ideas of things that we either don't have currently or could consider introducing into LI, although that was a little bit beyond the purview of the task at hand. Generally, trends in industrial development now are for more layers of uses in them than just singular uses. So, and that's all I've got. Any questions?
Any questions, board members, comments?
I have one comment, Mr. Chair. I just tell Mike, thank you for putting it in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
It does make it a lot easier to look at all this stuff. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I tried to do it without doing it, and I thought this is not possible.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cox.
Yes, yes.
If I could have that slide, please. Yes, ma'am. I cut it on. Thank you. I looked at some of the uses and would like to suggest, as soon as we get this up here, we get to the right one. Some additional uses that we might consider. Okay, just as an expansion. Okay, if you are on page 32, I'm going to be going straight down that, looking at the uses by right. So the first one I'm suggesting is bottling plant is not currently shown as one of the industrial uses that would be added. And it means a facility for assembling, mixing, bottling, canning, packing, wrapping, and boxing of commercial products assembled or manufactured off-site. This seems to meet the requirement that we have for this zoning district that is essentially quiet boxes. So that is one suggestion that I would make, is that we add that. The business service establishment has been added, as has commercial industrial services. The reason I put those on this slide is to show you simply how varied the uses are and how much it encompasses, so we know really something about what we're adding to. And if we could scroll down, please. Now, this is the one that's probably the most interesting. This is not included. Manufacturing, assembly of fabrication light. What's most important about this particular category is in the fourth line. It says such uses are wholly confined within an enclosed building. Do not include processing of hazardous gases or chemicals. Do not emit noxious noise, smoke, vapors, fumes, dust, glare, odor, or vibration. So, and once again, it's a quiet box. We have another definition of this, which is same thing, but heavy, and that's things that get outside of the box. So this would seem to allow us to expand to things that meet the definition. And then the last one that's not up there is metalworking, welding, and pipe fitting, which means an establishment primarily engaged in the processing metals to create individual parts, assemblies, fabricating products for joining metals through welding, installing, repairing, piping, or tubing systems that convey liquids, gas, steam, or water. A very specialized kind of, if you will, something more akin to rapid manufacturing, okay, a machine shop. So those are the items that I would suggest that we add. I have a question about one because, Mrs. Carmack, you are the expert. We're adding woodworking on the, okay, and I know you've expressed some concern in the past. So, what should we do with this?
Mr. Chairman, can I respond?
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
That was going to be one of the two items that I was going to recommend we eliminate from this, woodworking in a helicopter landing pad. I don't know really why we're putting that in our commerce center. So to your point with the woodworking, it's noisy and it's dusty. I don't think that is something we want on Route 60.
I'm with you on helicopter pads. I don't see a great demand for that.
I'm there too.
So those are my suggestions. Mrs. Carmack, you and I have grappled for years with uses not in alphabetical order. This may seem like a small thing, but it's really a big deal. So those are my suggestions. I don't know how the board feels about it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
I'm comfortable with all of those recommendations. The only one that gives me a little bit of pause is the metalworking with the welding. I don't know if those can get a little messy and noisy but absolutely on the
You want to put that as a CUP?
CUP, I think that would be great. I would feel
Okay.
much more comfortable with that.
And therefore, if
Yep,
it's messy,
they clean it.
and woodworking and helicopters are out.
I may.
I'm good.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would like to ask the county administrator if we could take this, put this on our social media page, so that the public can see and have an opportunity to view what Powhatan County allows to be on Route 60.
Yeah.
By right.
Yeah.
I think that would be good information for the public. I think there's a lot of concern over that, a lot of conversation over that. So if we could put it on our social media page, I think that would be a great place to try to provide some more information to the public on all of the businesses, the types of businesses that are allowed by right. And then also the ones that are for conditional use permissions, conditional use permits in the accessory uses. We could put it on the website, we could put it on the social media site, and we could definitely expand the exposure to the public.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Mr.
The one thing that and I'm fine with all of these things. I think Mr. Cox brings good points. Ms. Carmack brings good points. But probably the next thing that I'd like to also see put on a social media site is the last page in our packet. And that information, and I think I heard you say the majority of Powhatan County is what?
Agriculture.
It's pretty substantial.
It is, it's pretty substantial. Yeah.
When you have 262 square feet,
Per miles.
square miles,
Square miles.
and 213 of it
Yeah.
is agricultural.
Yeah.
It's pretty substantial.
Yep.
You have, that's about 82% of it.
Yeah.
82% of the county is agricultural.
Yeah.
And then the R2, RR, rural residential, residential utility, rural residential 5 acres. Those total up to about 26,000 acres. And I figure that's about 16% of the county. Am I close?
I believe you are.
So it's a pretty substantial difference between, that agriculture and where we have
Yeah.
houses. Now, of course, anything that's agriculture with 10 acres, you can put a house on it,
Correct.
right?
That's right.
And in that agriculture, there's 136,765 acres.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
213 square miles. When I look at the commercial component to this, 1.1 square mile.
Yeah.
The general commercial is a half a square.
That's right.
The Commerce Center planned development is none. And the courthouse square is basically none, because there's only 17 acres in one and 14 in the other.
And that's that's actually the zoning district. It's not actually the use.
Right.
Which is another layer of information, but it's also useful. to
For
know.
zoning, for, what
Yeah.
we see here, the by right uses, the conditional use. permit,
Correct.
And the accessory uses.
Yep.
So can we get that also published, Mr. Charda?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave,
Yes, sir, Mr. Cox.
are you finished?
Yes, sir.
The question about the acreage, the agricultural A10 includes a whole host of homes, correct?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said it's by zoning. The chart you have is by zoning. We can also mine information to find out what the actual uses are. That changes things a little bit. Because then there are some commercial uses that are in agriculture, right? If you consider some farm operations, it's having both bits of information are valuable.
Right. And I agree.
Yeah.
The agriculture, as Mr. Cox was bringing out, is
Yeah.
10-acre parcels.
Correct. Right.
Can I continue?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. No. Well, that was one thing. I have one other thing.
Go right ahead.
We are now adding and potentially light industrial uses to the Route 60 corridor. Today, if it's commercial or mixed use development, it's subject to our pattern book requirement. Light industrial is not. We need, if we're going to continue with our pattern book, we need to add commerce center rather than commercial and mixed use, so that we continue to have the pattern book, and we've done a much better job with our architectural building since we put that in. So that's another sidebar that has to come with it.
It is, and in a practical sense, it also limits those uses. So woodworking, for example, I mean, you couldn't have a factory of 100,000 square feet necessarily that's producing furniture. That would be furniture use. So, but woodworking could be a craft use. Not to disagree, but I'm just saying that one of the good things about having the pattern book and that requirement is that you're letting your design standards help to mitigate some of those uses, because the uses are broad. Well, I mean, what does that mean exactly? And the good thing about design standards are they are an added level to refine those uses to get you what you want. And a lot of places don't do that. They just have the use. And then they have a sort of a mix mash of things, but having the layer of the design standards, and if we could get the transportation standards in addition to that, then you're sort of baking in controls over, things being not what you want them to be. So the uses are becoming, they're good to know, but at the end of the day, are you going to be able to build an Amazon distribution center on 60? Probably not.
Any more comments? Thank you very much.
All right, then under new business, the only request is to initiate a subdivision ordinance amendment to address private road subdivisions. Mr. Stroller, Mr. Latchney can give a brief summary on this.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'll take this one, Mr. Chairman. As you may or may not recall, before 2022, all private roads needed the approval of the Board of Supervisors. In 2022, we made a change at the suggestion of a previous planning director to allow 2-lot private roads to be staff approved. What we discovered is that developers were really gaming the system. I'll give you the classic example. Anybody in the audience can go take a look. Out on Route 60, just past 522, there's a subdivision called the Stables that I can't remember, put 12 or 13 road entrances on a 55-mile-an-hour road on a hill using a series of 2-lot private roads and driveway entrances. So what this proposed ordinance does is it returns all private road approvals, including 2-lot private roads, to Board of Supervisors approval requirement. And we also added a section under access and circulation clear that our desire is that all new subdivisions go with a single access point, that we're not getting 6, 7, 8, 10 access points onto a main arterial highway when people are traveling 45, 55 miles an hour, for example, on 711 or 60 or most of the main roads in this county. And so it's to move private roads back to the board on all of them, including 2-lot private roads. And it is designed to make it clear to developers going forward, we want a single entrance when you're doing a subdivision, not a whole series of entrances out onto a main road. And so what we're asking is this be initiated and ask the Planning Commission to take a look at it. My suggestion would be that we double advertise it and schedule it for our meeting at the end of November. The Planning Commission by state law has to act within 60 days. And if they don't act within 60 days, then this board can act regardless of what they do. So my suggestion would be get it on the next Planning Commission agenda in October. That gives them the beginning of November to get a public hearing, and then put it on our agenda at the end of November was my suggestion. And with that, I'll answer any questions anyone has.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cox.
Mr. Lagney, we have in the second page of the proposed amendment, we have on the second page of the proposed amendment subdivisions of land. And number 2 says additional access connections may be allowed for subdivision where it can be demonstrated upon review of a site-specific traffic impact analysis that safety and efficiency of travel on the thoroughfare will be improved. I mean, problems with that. What I would like to see the language be a little bit different and make it clear that the Board of Supervisors is the only one that can allow that additional entrance, not staff. So it would start off with something like the Board of Supervisors. The other thing is, this is discretionary for the Board of Supervisors. It is not an obligation for us to do that.
Private roads have always been discretionary. We have treated the 2-lot ones as mandatory, but technically they've always been discretionary.
I understand that, but this is talking about connections. I just said, I simply wrote down the Board of Supervisors at its discretion may consider additional access connections for subdivision, and then it goes on. It makes it clear that that is entirely up to the board and it is the board's responsibility. That's all. Other than that, I think this is wonderful.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Carmack.
quick question for you, Tom. So if you have help me understand how this kind of correlates with the whole flag lot easement thing. Say you have a property owner in the front and then a house in the back and, or an empty lot in the back that's sold to a property owner, another property owner, and the property owner in the front gives the gentleman in the back access. Is that considered a 2-lot private road at that point or no?
No, because the front lot isn't going to use that road or that driveway for access.
But say the front lot did, say, like, a prime example is Mr. Williams, and I don't mean to point you out, but he's got a property kind of that's set back and he's got a road that feeds the house in the front and his house.
If the road was cutting through one property and that property is going to use it and the property behind it was going to use it, that would be a 2-lot private road.
So it would, even in that case, it would need to come before the Board of Supervisors for approval.
It would. Prior to 2022, it needed to, before we just changed it in 2022. Before that, you had to anyway.
Let's go a step further. You have your house right here. You have a lot in the back that you want to give to your son. And you've got the drive, comes into your house, and then the road is going to keep going in the back and go to your family division. Would that need to be coming before the Board of Supervisors?
The family divisions are an exception. Access under family divisions is an exception. We allow flag lots on family divisions.
Okay. Thank you.
The 2 lots, the landlocked lot. If that property owner in the front grants an easement to the one in the back, that's got to go before the Board of Supervisors.
No, that in this scenario, which is the more common scenario, is the property owner in the front, he's got his house there, he's coming in. The guy in the back convinces him to get an easement, so now he can actually get to his parcel. That's the item we discussed.
Right.
Right.
That would be by right.
Okay.
Assuming we adopt that flag lot exception that we've been talking about, that would be a by right. You wouldn't need board approval because it wouldn't be a 2-lot private road. The existing property is going to use whatever entrance he's got. All you're doing is granting an easement. In a perfect world, it'd be an easement using his same driveway, but nonetheless, that the flag lot exception that we were talking about previously, and I think is still in the works, would make that a by right. If you can get your neighbor to give you the easement, then we don't care.
Yeah, so the easement, if that neighbor, so this is, I think where some of the confusion sets in, at least for me, is if you own the property, if I own the front property on Jude's Ferry Road, and X owns the rear property, and they came to me and said, would you grant me an easement? And I said, sure. And you use the same driveway that's at my house now. The only thing is it's going to be extended to that back lot. That's not going to need to come before the board, or it is.
Well, if you use that same driveway again, you're not technically creating a private road. That front part's already there.
Right.
So assuming we eliminate the flag lot prohibition for curing a landlocked parcel, assuming we adopt that,
Right.
that's merely curing a landlocked parcel. You aren't technically creating a new 2-lot private road. That initial entrance is already there. Just for efficiency's sake, you're sharing that entrance. So it's not creating, because that's what our ordinance is addressing, the creation of a new 2-lot private road.
Right.
That first lot already has that road, so it wouldn't be creating a new 2-lot.
Yeah,
private.
you're just one with the one that's already there and exists.
Right.
All right. Any other questions, comments? I mean, I think we're all in favor of sending that to the planning commission. Right.
With the timeline.
Well, it's comes out 60 days and, that's by state law. So that's going to come up again real soon on everything they have on their plate now, which is a lot.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I suggest that is if they do a public hearing in November and we do a public hearing, we save the advertising money because we can double advertise.
Right.
We don't have to run multiple sets of ads in the paper as well. So that saves us some money to do it that way.
All for saving the money. Okay, good. That'll bring us to our final public comment period. Floor is open. If you'd like to come up and speak to the board, you can State your name and address. 3 minutes to speak. Anyone online?
Online, we have Michelle Stinnett.
Ms. Stinnett, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Michelle Stinnett, 2889 Cruise Lane, Powhatan. I just have several questions that,
A little bit, Ms. Stinnett, can you speak up just a little bit?
yes, can you hear me now?
Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay. I just have a couple questions that perhaps, I mean, I'm sure that there's no answers at this point, but so my questions are in regards to the agricultural lands. You stated that there are 213 square miles of agricultural land in Powhatan, which is roughly 136,765 acres. How much of the 213 square miles is industrial solar or zoned to be industrial solar? And how much of the 136,765 acres is under A20 and being used for other things? I know that you can't answer me. That would be something that I would like to see published maybe on the social media site, if you would, please. Thank you.
If we have Ms. Stinnett's contact information, we can certainly look that up and provide that information.
Thank you, Ms. Stinnett.
No one else?
Anyone else will close the public comment period. Any comments?
No comments, Mr. Chair.
No comments.
Board,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. Scott.
we don't have to answer the question, but there is no A20. We have 0 A20 zoning.
Anytime we can get correct information out to the public, I think it's a good thing. Amen. I just want to remind everybody, I think, Mr. Shaw, I brought up a good point, tomorrow, NBC 12, James Morgan's going to be on there, talking about community matters. I think that's something that, you know, everybody has got to together, really good, great programs we offer and what she does. Other than that, everybody have a good evening.